In today's video, I'm going to break down the 4 Ds that turn busyness into progress. So something was on my mind that I felt like I needed to share with you because I know that right now, maybe you feel like you're doing a lot of things. You're moving, you're busy, but you're not really seeing results. And I know that a lot of men are struggling with this right now, where they are doing all the right things. They feel like they're doing things, they're being productive, but they're not seeing the results that they desire. And so in today's video, I'm going to break this down for you so that you can see how important it is to gain clarity and how clarity will help you to make progress in any area of your life. So we're going to break this down, and I'm going to start it off with an analogy here. So I want you to picture that you are driving from New York to California. But here's the thing. There is no map. You have no map. Can you imagine how hard that's actually going to be to drive from New York to California with no map? It's virtually impossible. And there's so many things that can go wrong when you drive from New York to California with no map. Because here's the thing. You're going to be constantly moving, but you're not really making progress. The progress is going to kind of look like this. And the reason for that is because without a map, you have no real direction. A map gives you direction. Okay? And without the map, you're going to be all over the place, and you're going to eventually quit, because not because the car broke down, not because you're incapable, but because you have no real direction. And so do you ever feel like you're just constantly moving and you're not really getting anywhere? So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to start that off with number 1. And number 1 we have here, you cannot arrive at a destination that you have not clearly defined. That's so important to understand here. So number 1 is the destination. This is very important because busyness is motion, but vision is destination. So if you don't know where you're going, you're just going to end up doing all the things, right? You're busy, you're constantly moving, but you're never getting to that destination. And this is why it's important to have vision. Your vision is the map. So imagine yourself, again, going back to our analogy here, you're trying to drive from New York to California with no map. Or maybe you're trying to build a business, but you have no vision. Your vision is your map. And see, a lot of men are out there struggling because they have no vision. They have no idea where they're going. Your vision gets you from point A to point B. And this one tweak right here alone, getting clear on your vision, changes everything for you, because you'll know when you have arrived. But the problem is most men are walking aimlessly with no vision. So you can't arrive at a destination that you haven't clearly defined. Okay? So again, if you have no vision for your life, again, I want you to think about it like this. Your progress is going to be wishy-washy. You're going to be all over the place. You're going to make wrong turns. You're going to go down the wrong way. You might even go back up north or whatever, but you're never going to make it this way because you have no vision. You have no map for your own life. And so your vision is the map that you need in order to get from where you are to where you want to go. Your vision clarifies where you're going so that you can your vision clarifies where you're going so your effort actually means something. This is important to understand here, because if you want to stop being busy and you actually want to make progress, you want to see results in your life, you need to actually Get clear on this so that way what you're doing means something. That what you're doing, you're actually working towards something. So it gives you a destination that you can see and commit to. This is so important to understand here. So if you're tired of spinning your wheels and you're not really sure why you're spinning your wheels, it's because the destination hasn't been defined. So you need to get very clear on your vision. Without your vision, it's going to be impossible to build your business, to build that dream lifestyle, to have a successful marriage. You need vision. So number 2 here. Let's jump into number 2. So the second reason you're not seeing results, not seeing progress, is because you cannot sustain the journey without a drive that is deeper than the difficulty. So number 2 here is the drive. What happens when things get difficult? Okay? I want you throughout this video to think of yourself from this analogy. So imagine you're driving from New York to California and you have no drive. Your drive is essentially your why. If you have no real good reason for doing it, you're gonna go without a map, without a why, and you're just gonna be all over the place. It's gonna look like this, and eventually you're gonna quit. You're gonna quit because you have no internal drive that is keeping you going. When things get difficult, can you keep going? The only way that you'll be able to keep going is when you have a why. Because look, building a business is hard. Creating financial freedom is hard. Building a legacy is difficult. But guess what? We already know that. None of this is easy. So you need to have a strong why, because without a strong why, pressure will eventually crush any motion, any movement that you take. Because when you think about it, if you keep going, but you get knocked down 7 times, eventually you're just gonna give up. You get knocked down so many times, at some point you're gonna be tired of it. And that's what it's like in business. I can say from my own personal experience that I've been knocked down so many times. I've pursued different business endeavors, I've tried different things, and I have been knocked down every single time. And I have had this internal drive that kept me going. It's why I'm still here today, even though I'm not where I wanna be yet. So you can't give up. And the only way that you're gonna be able to keep pushing is when you have that strong why. And so, listen, the reason most men that give up is not because they're incapable, it's because they're disconnected from their reason. Your why is your reason for going. It's your reason for waking up. Why are you waking up every day? What is that reason? And it's so important to get very clear on this, because drive is what keeps you going when clarity feels distant. This is something that took me a long time to understand, especially when I was working on my business, and a lot of my life changes happened in 2020. And I didn't have a clear why. I didn't have a destination, and I wasn't clear on that. So when you know where you're going, you can endure anything that comes your way. So let's talk about number 3 here. Number 3 here is, and the reason that men struggle to see progress in their life or results is because you cannot turn effort into progress without a design for your daily discipline. So number 3 is design. You need design. But what exactly is a design? So let's go back to our analogy here. So we have New York on this side, and we have California on the West Coast. Okay? So your design is essentially, if you're driving from New York to California, are a few things. For one, you need gas, food, and rest. Right? Those right here are your design. Essentially, what this means is that you need systems. You need systems. This is your system from going from New York to California. Without a system, it's going to be impossible. Why? Because you're going to run out of gas, you're going to starve, and you're going to be tired driving. And I don't know about you, I don't know if you've ever driven across country before, but it is exhausting. And you need these systems so that way you can make the arrival inevitable, because your systems set you up for success. Now, I want to give you an example of this, okay? Let's just say, for example, you have a fitness goal and you want to lose weight and get ripped. Like, you want to get shredded. But what systems do you need in place? For one, you need to work out 3 times a week. You need to eat protein, and whole foods. You need to reduce sugar and junk. And you need to drink plenty of water. These systems right here make your transformation inevitable. If you want to lose 20 pounds and you want to get jacked, following these right here, this system will help you get there. Why? Because these are your inputs. Your inputs will get you to the outcome that you desire, right? This is your system. This is exactly how you set your life up, no matter what it is: fitness, business, finances, your marriage. This is what my wife and I do. We have systems in place for our marriage and how we do things. We have a weekly meeting. The meeting is to help us making sure that we're aligned with our finances, we're aligned with, our personal goals, whatever it is. And then we have a daily meeting. Like every day after work, we meet together and we ask ourselves 4 questions or so. And we get a mental gauge on where we are spiritually, emotionally, physically. And so you need systems in place because the inputs make the result inevitable, okay? Vision, motivation, and systems don't restrict progress. They make it inevitable. I can't stress that enough, okay? So your systems are your daily and weekly inputs that turn intention into results. This is so powerful here. And this is a shift that most men need to hear. This is what you need to hear today. You don't gain clarity by waiting on God, okay? You gain clarity by acting with intention, okay? Your systems help you to walk with intention. Once you start walking with intention, you start making progress. You just need clarity. Now, you can only go so far when it comes to clarity. You can plan, you can set the intention, but after that, the only way to gain clarity is by taking action, okay? This is so important to understand here. Now, let's talk about number 4. This is your pivot, okay? This is where we're gonna pivot. So for number 4, we have waiting on God is not a passive pause. It's a dynamic. It's an active dynamic of partnership, okay? Number 4 is the dynamic. Okay? The reason that most men get stuck is because they're waiting on God. And they think that waiting on God means I need to plan more. I need to strategize longer. I need to pray longer. I need to sit idle. But that is not what it means. Dynamic means partnership. This is your partnership with God. And we can see this all throughout Scripture. Let's just say, for example, imagine if Moses told God, God, I think I'm going to pray about this. I think I'm going to pray, and then, we can plan some strategies on getting your people out of Egypt. Can you imagine if Moses said that? Or if Noah said, God, I've never seen rain before, and I'm an old man. I'm going to pray about this first and making sure that this is the right thing. And then we can talk about how we can build the ark. We can just, plan it out and make sure that we're on the right track. No, they didn't do that. What did they do? They put their faith to work, because faith without works is dead. You have to actually move. You have to do your part. Waiting on God does not mean you need to be idle. It's not passive. And I know that a lot of men get stuck here. You're stuck waiting on God. But here's the thing. God is waiting on you. He sees you. He knows where you are. He wants to move on your behalf, but the problem is you're stuck in paralysis. You're overanalyzing everything. You want the answers to be perfect. You want the clarity to be perfect, but it doesn't work like that. Clarity comes when you take action. So as we can see here, this is partnership. And this is something that took me, I don't know, like 8-9 years to realize that I did not have the partnership that I needed with God in business and in my life. And once I decided to have that partnership, everything changed. Now, when I think back onto 2020, that's really when I first started to partner with God in business. And that was life-changing. It was a huge transformation, and I'm still learning today what that looks like. But your life, your destination, your drive, and your design require partnership with God. If you want to see results, you got to partner with him. Proverbs 16 verse 3 says, "Commit your work to the Lord and your plans will be established." Here's something I want to share with you. That word established in Hebrew means firm. It means fixed. So have you ever watched a sports game before and you're like, man, those refs were totally playing favorites and it was a fixed game? Well, think of it like that with God, because God has called you for a purpose. And when you commit your plans and your desires and your goals to him, everything else will play out for you because it's fixed. He called you to a purpose. And when you walk in alignment with him, it's already laid out for you. It's already laid out, and you just have to trust in him as you walk, knowing that he knows what's best for you. He's going to give you what to desire, okay? So waiting doesn't produce results. Obedience does. So waiting does not equal results. It took me years to realize this. There were times where I was waiting for a perfect answer, or I was praying and just waiting God to give me an answer when God might have been just saying, hey, take that first step. Because when you take that first step, then you'll have clarity. Okay, so waiting does not produce results. Obedient action equals results. So what does that mean for you? Like I said, you know what to do. You know what you need to do in order to get the results you want. You have to face your fears. You have to get very clear on your destination, on your drive, and on your design. And when you do, taking that first step is going to be a lot easier. It's not going to be as scrambled in your head, because your brain, when you think about it from a psychology standpoint, your brain is freaking out when you try taking steps in a direction that you cannot actually see in your brain. And this is a whole nother conversation, but you have to get very clear on where you're going and then walk in obedient action, because then you're going to have the results that you have been praying for, the ones that you've been working hard for. When I was building my business and just trying to see results in my life, I not only didn't have a destination, I didn't have the drive, I didn't have the design, I just lacked a lot of understanding. The Bible says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. If I would have just had that knowledge, things could have been totally different for me in that moment. And once you have that, like I didn't have it, I struggled, and therefore taking action was very hard for me. I was faced with fears and doubts and all this other stuff. And so as soon as you get very clear on where you're going, taking action is a lot easier. You just have to take that first step. So from this moment on, I want you to stop identifying as a waiting man. Stop identifying as a busy man. This is not you anymore. You need to die to this old identity. I talked about this in my previous video. You should go check that out. I talked about how your present identity cannot get you into the promised land. So your old identity is not going to get you where you want to go. So you need to die to that. And from now on, you need to become a man of destination, drive, and design. Okay? Be the partner God can trust with motion. And don't just pray for provision. Prepare for the journey. And you prepare for the journey when you get clear on your destination, drive, and design. So that wraps up today's video. I really hope that you found this helpful. And if you did, let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. And thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.